Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark and today we're going to take a look at the Huawei Mate30 Pro. So this is the first time I've used a phone that has a wraparound screen, and I must admit I'm not that much of a fan. I find it a little bit almost sharp in the hand. It does look fantastic, but I don't find it as comfortable to hold as just a normal phone. It doesn't seem to adapt websites very well, so you can see this is my website. You can see how this 3-bar button is wrapping around the side, and also that means some of the text can occasionally wrap around the side as well. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm not sure it really adds that much. It initially looks quite cool. Being edge-to-edge screen means there's nothing around this side, and there's nothing really around this side. There's just the power lock button. You see that little red button there? That's the power lock button. On the bottom is the USB-C charging point, speaker, and the SIM card slot. At the time of review, you can see this was running the UI version 10 and also Android version 10. If you're like me, then you prefer the hard buttons to a digital scroll. I found this was a little bit hit and miss, but it got the job done some of the time. There's an in-screen fingerprint scanner, which was nice to see. Most of the time it's fairly responsive. If you're not a fan of fingerprint scanners, you prefer old school, you can swipe up and that will reveal a PIN to enter. They've continued the Leica association and they have 4 cameras on the back of this, and that's really what this bit of hardware is amazing at. Huawei have done a great job with this being a camera phone. As with the recently reviewed iPhone 11 Pro, you've got a zoom mode, normal mode and wide angle lens. So I'm out and about having a bit of a walk with the P30 Pro. This is the front-facing camera. It can record footage in 1080p. The front-facing camera can do 4K. I'm in a little park area, as you can probably see. Lots of nice greenery, birds tweeting, and I'm just walking along. So how stable does this seem to you? Is this a very stable shot? Let me know what you think. This little section I'm walking in is fairly overcast with both leaves, and it's quite cloudy today, just another typical day in Manchester. So I'm going to just exit this area now, see what you think of the changing light when I get from underneath the trees. Quite slippy, hopefully I don't drop this. Here we go. So how's it going to cope with this sudden burst of natural light that's about to hit the lens? There we go. Ooh, blimey. Well, on the screen I look like I've gone ghostly white. Hopefully it turns out a bit better when I review that later. There we go. So out in the wide open space. How's it coping with the movement? Do a little run. Is it still keeping stable? It looks like it's doing a good job of keeping stable actually. The reason I've come up here is get a good view and going to test out the wide angle lens and the standard lens, see what the difference is. So here's the video at the normal 1x zoom. Let's swap that to wide. Loving the fact I can do that while recording. Let's bring that back in now. So back to 1x zoom is 2.5x zoom, which still seems to be pretty steady. I've gone a bit too far there. Let's go to 5 zoom first. Okay, here we go. 5x zoom. Now I can see that says the cooperative on it, so that's pretty good. And now let's put this all the way up. How far does this go? 10x zoom. Now at 10x zoom, things are looking a little bit fuzzy. That's a lot of digital zoom going on, but even though I'm holding it, it's 10x zoom. It looks like it's trying to keep the image fairly steady. There's also this dual view mode, which is recording the same image but using the 2 different lenses, so one's slightly more zoomed in, and that's 2x zoom, 3x zoom and 5x zoom. There's also a range of AR cameras that allow you to swap your head for something else. So here's a little robot version of me, here's a weird fish version, and here's a weird little pink bunny. So the screen's really good when you're out and about and you want to record yourself. The one thing I'm not really liking though is how this feels in the hand, and you'd probably want to get some sort of selfie stick to put this on, as the rounded corners feel a little bit slippy, and I'm very conscious that I wouldn't want to drop this. I'm over grass at the moment, but if you're over concrete, I imagine this screen is going to cost quite a bit to replace. I have just noticed a little setting that says beauty mode, so at the moment it is off. After all, why would I need beauty mode on? Well, let's crank it up and see what difference that makes. Okay, so there we go, that's beauty mode set to its maximum. It's a scale of 1 to 10, and I'm not really sure what it's doing. It looks like it's maybe smoothing out my skin or something. I'll have to have a look on a bigger screen when I get back and compare it to the other footage that I've taken without beauty mode being on, and let's see if you think it makes a difference. What do you think? Is this mode better? Do I look better in this mode, or would it be better to just leave it without beauty mode? So just out of interest, here is some footage from the rear facing camera. I've got this set to wide mode. This should mean that I have no problem fitting into shot, even though I can't see myself because obviously the screen is facing away from me. I just thought I'd try it out. If any of you are vloggers or you like to video stuff, you might want to try this to get the higher quality footage. Now let's change this up a little bit. Let's make sure it's not on widescreen and see what the results are like. So here we go, this is now standard zoom. It's the wind's getting up a bit. Can you hear it? What's the audio like? How do you find this one compared to the widescreen? Let me know in the comments below. It's a good camera. I like the normal camera's skin tones rather than the ultra wide skin tones, and you can see here it does a good job of focusing and blurring the background as well, so you've got plenty of options if you're into your videography. It did have a few issues with this little light box. It kept focusing in and out, but it's a pretty unusual situation, and unless you're in a club maybe, I don't think that'll be an issue that crops up a lot. The Mate30 Pro offers excellent hardware. I can't really fault the camera. I think it does a great job. It's a really great display. The big issue that you face at the moment, however, is you're in this weird transition period where they've had the Google services pulled out from under them and they're not yet ready with a replacement set of services. They have included the app gallery on the phone, but that's got some pretty big names missing. For example, there's no Facebook, and probably the one that affects most people is the Google Maps. Everyone seems to like using Google Maps to get around. You can't get access to that. As someone who is really plugged into the Googleverse, I use Gmail, it's my calendar, as well as using the maps and of course YouTube. I've found it's a real struggle to do my normal day-to-day activities without those services. I did try and sideload some of these apps, but it just wasn't working. I just kept getting error messages. So if, like me, you're a heavy Google user, this probably isn't the phone for you at the moment. Now, in time, maybe Huawei will be able to develop some competition to Google. Maybe they'll have an app store that has all the big names in it, their own version of Maps perhaps, or an alternative. But right now, this is a real problem for those of you who have stuff that you rely on, Maps, Gmail, etc. I was also concerned that one of the apps I installed from the app gallery claimed to be a Mario Kart game, but when I opened it, it was something completely different. That's not something I've experienced with the Google Play Store. Of course, if you're not plugged into the Googleverse in the same way I am, if you use a different email provider, maybe someone like Microsoft Outlook, Yahoo, Proton Mail, you can still use this phone, that's no problem. You can set up email on it. It just means you can't use the dedicated Google apps. So a bit of a mixed bag really. This is a really great camera phone. They've got the hardware, it's fantastic. I've really enjoyed using that. It's just the software that's letting it down. The camera itself has a little AI mode. I've really enjoyed pointing this at things and seeing if it recognizes them. So it recognizes things like greenery and blue sky. Struggled though when I pointed it at my shoe, just out of interest. Didn't cope with that one. So there's a lot of scope here that if you're looking for a camera and maybe a video recorder that happens to also connect to the internet, this could well be a good option. However, if you're looking for a really good all-round Android phone, it's lacking all that extra stuff that you're used to. Hopefully in time Huawei will come up with something that provides Google with a bit of competition. I just don't think this is the device or the year for them. I hope you found this short review useful. If you have, please hit subscribe, the bell button, and I will see you on the next review.